You get the thing you wanted, the exit, the quiet. The door finally closed behind you. And instead of feeling more like yourself, you feel like no one at all. You expected relief. What arrived was a kind of vertigo, standing in the middle of your own life and not recognizing whose it is. You keep waiting for the good feeling to start. It doesn't start. So you do the math everyone does. Maybe leaving was a mistake. Maybe the old job, the old role, the old version of you that everyone knew. Maybe that was the real one. And this hollow thing is the error. It isn't. But to see why, you have to look at what you actually took apart. Most of what you call myself was not discovered. It was assembled, built, piece by piece, to be legible to other people, to your parents first, then your friends, your boss, the room you kept walking into. You became someone others could read at a glance, someone predictable, someone easy to love, or at least easy to place. And here's the part no one tells you: it worked. That personality got you approval, safety, a seat at the table. It solved a real problem. That is exactly why it became load bearing. You didn't perform the old self because you were weak. You performed it because it held the roof up. So when you finally stop, when you say the no you've been swallowing, when you let the old character go quiet, you are not shedding a costume. You are pulling out a support beam and standing under the ceiling to see what happens. This is the thing we get backwards about becoming yourself. We imagine it as addition. You go looking, you find the true self, you put it on like a better coat, growth that feels like arrival. But it doesn't work by addition, it works by subtraction first. Before you can become anyone, you have to stop being the version that was keeping you safe. And that does not feel like growth, it feels like erasure. There is a word for this slow, disorienting work of becoming a self that is actually yours. Jung called it individuation, the long process of separating who you are from who you were assembled to be. He was clear that it was not comfortable. It asks you to meet the parts of yourself you outsourced and to stop letting the crowd finish your sentences. What he named less often is the gap, the empty stretch in the middle, because the old self came with a script, every situation, a line ready. And the new self, the real one, has no lines yet. None. So there you are. The old character has left the stage and the new one hasn't been written. And you mistake that silence for being lost. But listen closely, because this is the turn. You are not lost between two selves. You are standing exactly where the first one used to be, in the space it took up, now that it's gone. The emptiness isn't a wrong turn, it's the shape of the thing you removed. That distinction sounds small. It is the whole difference between despair and patience. Because here is where almost everyone breaks, right here at the emptiest point. The hollow feeling reads as a mistake. The mind cannot tolerate a vacancy, so it calls the vacancy a failure. And the fastest way to end a failure is to undo it. So you reach back, you pick up the old identity, still warm, still fitting, and you put it back on. And the vertigo stops instantly. That's the trap. Running back works. The old self was load bearing, remember, so the moment you resume it, the roof feels solid again. You call that relief. It was surrender. You walked to the edge of becoming someone, felt the floor disappear, and grabbed the nearest thing that told you who you were. And it doesn't have to be the old self you grab. It can be anything that fills the silence fast enough. A new role you throw yourself into before you felt the last one leave. A sudden hard certainty, a diet, a doctrine, a personality you order fully formed. Or the simplest one, the one within arm's reach right now. The feed. The scroll that hands you an identity every few seconds so you never have to sit in the gap and feel like no one. Watch yourself the next time the emptiness rises and your hand moves toward the phone before the feeling even finishes. That reach is not boredom. It's a rescue. You are pulling a borrowed self over the silence because the silence felt like death. So, what does individuation actually ask of you? Not a technique, not 5 steps, something much harder and much plainer. It asks you to tolerate being no one for longer than is comfortable, to stand in the gap, hollow, unscripted, unsure, and not fill it with the nearest available self. To let the silence stay silent long enough for something that is actually yours to surface in it. Not the fast answer, the slow one, the one that doesn't arrive on demand. This is why it takes the time it takes. You cannot rush a self into the space. You can only refuse to fill it with a fake one and wait. And once you understand that, the whole feeling inverts. The disorientation you've been reading as proof you're breaking, it's the opposite. You only feel this hollow when something real has been cleared out. The vertigo is not the sign of collapse. It is the sensation of the borrowed self dissolving before the real one has anything to stand on. You wouldn't feel the emptiness if the space were still occupied. The ache is the evidence it's working. So the goal was never to stop feeling lost. The goal was to stop mistaking lost for wrong. Picture the same person later, months on, maybe more. Nothing dramatic has happened. There was no sudden revelation, no moment the true self walked in and announced itself. That's not how it comes. What's different is quieter than that. They still don't have every line, but they've stopped auditioning for the old part. When the silence comes now, they don't reach. They let it be silent. They can sit at a table full of people and not perform a single version of themselves and not feel like they're disappearing for it. They are not found. No one ever really is. The word was always a lie, a promise that some finished self is waiting at the end if you just search hard enough. They are something better than found. They are no longer borrowed. And the vertigo you're feeling right now, the one that made you think you'd made a terrible mistake, that was never the sound of you falling apart. It was the sound of the scaffolding coming down, so that whatever you actually are has room at last to stand.